We are tonight's entertainment.
What the fuck is this, Chet?
This is a tasty burger.
Were you rushing or were you drinking?
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
Is this your homework, Larry?
Film Scoop. Welcome back, brothers.
Another episode of just pure and utter greatness.
Another week, another
I'll tell
scoop. You know how it goes.
It's the usual stuff.
We're back. This week we're talking about our top 5 sports movies.
Yep.
Big time.
I gotta tell you, I really making the list, just jumping straight into things. I kind of had a hard time.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of I didn't realize how many sports movies I had seen until I was like, what are my favorite sports movies?
Yeah, there's a lot.
And it's really weird because my top 4 I knew like right off the top of my head. Boom, 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 boom.
5 was the hard one.
It was the 5th one where I was like, which direction do I go with this thing?
Right.
How much of an idiot should I let these people know that I am?
Just your favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
Can't help your favorite. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty short episode because I didn't watch a lot this week. Madden came out, so I've been playing that like a man.
Yep. Been absolutely spanking kids.
Yeah, it's what I do.
Until you quit that one time. I saw you quit a game one time.
I did. Hey, on the pod, you're going to mention that? You're going to expose me like that? All right.
Hey, one time's not bad.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a long episode. Only got a few things to talk about, but we'll start it off with I finished The Sopranos.
This, I cannot stress enough how insane this is. That number 1, Cash finished The Sopranos. And number 2, that he did it in a timely manner. Yep. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what inspired you. What happened that just sent you to boot camp to get you to finish the show?
To clue you guys in on the lore, I notoriously have a hard time getting through TV shows because I get bored.
Yeah.
Whether the show's great or whether it's terrible, I just get to a point where I've been watching episode after episode and I just don't feel like watching it anymore.
Yeah.
No matter how good the show is. So I watched like 10 episodes of The Last Airbender and it was good, but I stopped because I was like, I'm good. I watched 10 episodes.
I got my fill.
Yeah, so even shows that I really like, I just have trouble getting through. So it was like this running joke. Carl always said I would never watch The Sopranos because it's really long. It doesn't seem long considering it's 6 seasons, but they're all an hour long. Each season's 13 episodes, and the last season is 21 episodes. So it's 90 episodes.
Yeah.
And it was just this running joke for a long time that I was never going to watch it, even though I kept saying I wanted to. And I pounded through it. I don't remember the exact day I started back on it, but
it was a shocking speed.
Yeah, basically like a year ago, I watched the first like 5 episodes and then I gave up. And then like 6 months ago, I started the first 5 episodes and gave up. And then the third time I went back and watched it, I kept restarting it. I was like, I don't want to have to remember what happened, so I'm just starting at episode 1 again. And then the third time is when I went all the way through and I finished it. And I have an interesting relationship with The Sopranos because as I was watching it, it wasn't really what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I was used to Breaking Bad, the best show ever made. And in Breaking Bad, every episode there's something pivotal going on. Every episode, if it doesn't have a cliffhanger, it leaves you on a note that really makes you want to watch the next episode. And The Sopranos, it couldn't be farther from that. Every episode of The Sopranos, like, it's just a slow fade out with music, and a lot of times in the next episode, they don't even reference anything that happened in the last episode. Yeah. It's very episodic, where like one episode, this little thing will happen, this little side mission will happen, and then in the next episode, it's like a new side mission. And I just wasn't really used to it. I was expecting a lot more like thrills, like mob executions, you know, wars and all this stuff, and it wasn't that. And so I just kept watching it. Every time I put on The Sopranos, it felt like a chore. It was like, I don't really feel like watching this, but I need to finish it, so I'm going to keep watching more episodes. And then once the second it ended, I was sad that it was over. And it took me finishing the show to realize how much I loved the show. Because as I'm watching it, I kept waiting for like, oh, they're setting up this thing. I really want to see how this plays out. And The Sopranos plays out a lot with setting up something and then it getting resolved in an anticlimactic fashion.
Yeah.
A lot of characters will have their differences and they're like setting up to have this war or have this duel, and then they figure it out and then they're friends again. And it can feel at the time like it's like, well, what was the point of all that? Like, why did we go through episodes of build up for it to not come to anything? And like I said, once I finished the show, I understood more what the show is. And it's a drama. It's a family drama. It's called The Sopranos. It's about a family.
Yeah.
It's about
family
it's a family drama
/ comedy.
Yeah. And yeah, the comedy also at the time that I was watching it, obviously there's times where stuff is funny, but I didn't realize on first watch how funny it actually is. Like there's every episode, there's something funny in it. There's a lot of dark comedy and there's a lot of like subtle comedy, and then there's just comedy of Tony being a moron. Yeah. And like when he's telling Carmela that he likes the orange juice with some pulp, not pulp.
Really, I don't think it dawned on me either when I first watched the series that it was as funny as it was, and it wasn't until I watched a few episodes with you, sitting down with you, that I was like, dude, this is fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Every episode,
when him and Bobby got into a fight, and he was like, you know, Bobby, this was 15 years ago. You would have been the guy that got beat up.
Yeah, I would have beat seeing how butthurt Tony got about Bobby beating him up. Yeah. And then everybody going, oh, all the time. Yeah. And talking about Gabagool. Yeah. And
Paulie.
It's just great. It's all the conversations with Tony and his therapist. It's just really funny. And seeing the progression of the show also, when you compare the family dynamic in season 1 versus season 6, it's a really sad show. And it has its lighthearted moments and its funny moments, but I'm not going to get into spoilers. Okay. Maybe at the end of the episode we'll have a little spoiler section so we can talk about the end. But I'm not going to spoil anything, but specifically the dynamic with Tony and Anthony from comparing season 1 to season 6, it's a very big difference, and it's kind of sad the way everything pans out, because obviously when it starts, Anthony's a kid. He's 11. And when it ends, he's, 19? So obviously, you know, you grow up and you start having different emotions and things start happening. And just looking back on it, it's a show that's like really sad and tragic, but also it's more about like the journey versus the destination and spending all this time with these characters. Once the show ended, it made me realize how much I love all the characters. Yeah. And how real they felt. And I grew much more of an appreciation for it after I had finished it. So I would say to people, because I've heard other people say, I tried to watch The Sopranos, it was boring, I gave up. I'd say finish it, just watch the whole thing through once, and you might look at it differently after you finish it. Yeah, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, I kind of had the same experience. I really started digging deep into it once I finished the series. I thought the way things ended was good. I thought it was really good, and I was like, oh man, you know, the show's over. But I do stand by a lot of like what I think about the show, with it just introducing things and not really getting resolved and not really understanding what motivates certain characters. Like I still think that's there, but it's a really good show. Yeah,
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think in a weird way it's easier to accept The Sopranos when you think of it more as like a sitcom. And I know that sounds dumb, but something that, like, if you watch Seinfeld, like there isn't really an overarching story. You kind of just put it on and you enjoy being in the world of these characters and their dynamic with everything. And I think if you go into The Sopranos really expecting like this big overarching story, like you're not going to be fulfilled. There's other shows that can do that for you, but I don't think The Sopranos does. And that's not to say The Sopranos doesn't have a story, because that's not true at all. But everyone compares it to Breaking Bad, so that was my metric when I was watching it. Was like, I mean, it's fine, but it's not as good as Breaking Bad. But Breaking Bad's a thriller. It's a thriller series. That's that's the goal. And obviously there's drama and comedy intertwined, but that's what the show is designed to do, is be intense and be thrilling.
Yeah.
And that's not really what The Sopranos is trying to do at all.
Yeah.
They have completely different goals.
Yeah.
So I think also with all the really like game-changing stuff with dream sequences and hallucinations and doing all these crazy things that was not in TV at the time. They were sometimes in movies, but those ideas were not explored at all in TV.
Yeah.
And The Sopranos really pioneered everything. TV wasn't even taken seriously until The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand now, because now TV and movies are almost equal. It's not like one is better than the other. They're just different mediums.
Yeah.
But back in the day, before 2000, before The Sopranos aired, the biggest shows in the world were sitcoms.
Yeah.
It was Seinfeld and Friends and Cheers and all that shit. And those were the biggest shows in the world. And then it was the Sopranos. And if you were a TV actor, you were looked down on. You were less than a film actor. And if you directed TV, you were a less than director. And it was like the Walmart of like the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And the Sopranos came along and said, no, we're going to take the quality of film and we're going to have the film level writing and acting and directing and cinematography, but we're just going to make it a show. And then once they did that, so many shows followed in their footsteps, and it really changed everything.
Yeah. I mean, on merit alone and what it accomplished, The Sopranos is definitely one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it is.
And I don't want to detract from like what I think versus what it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's insane. Like,
Yeah.
the amount that it has led up to. Like any show that's good that you can think of, like almost wouldn't have happened without The Sopranos.
Yeah. Any of your favorite shows wouldn't exist without The Sopranos.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, without spoiling anything, that's my thoughts. It's becoming one of my favorite shows.
Heck yeah.
It took some time, but I feel like honestly I could throw on like a random episode and just kind of enjoy it. Now that I know what it is, I could throw on a random episode while I eat dinner and like have a good time.
Yeah.
And I could honestly rewatch it, I think. I know it's long, but there's so much there to dissect. It's a very subtle show, and there's enough there to chew on to warrant another watch for me.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And then 2 nights ago, we started Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Watched the first episode of that, the old Mike Flanagan joint.
Yep.
I'm a big Flanagan guy.
Yeah. I mean,
I love the Flan man.
the only thing I've seen out of his Netflix horror stuff is Hill House.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I remember when Midnight Mass came out, and I was like, this shit looks good. And for some reason, Logan fucking started the show and just didn't say anything. And I was like, what are you doing? She was like, oh, I'm watching this cool show.
Yep.
I was like, yeah.
We were going to watch that.
I was at work.
Yeah.
Felt like I got fucking cheated on for a
Yeah, you
second.
got gypped.
Yeah. So hopefully she Men in Blacked herself, and now we can start over with fresh eyes.
Yeah, but we've seen Hill House, and that was the only like Netflix series that we've seen. But we've also seen Hush and Dr. Sleep, which are both awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of the Flan Man, and
yeah.
hopefully he gets to make his Clayface movie for Matt Reeves.
Dude,
I'd come.
that'd
I'd come. That's crazy.
That would
if that
be nuts.
happens, I'm gonna be smiling for a week.
Oh yeah. That's gonna be insane.
Yeah. But yeah, Midnight Mass is cool. Only one episode in, so I can't really say much.
Yeah,
but
there's not a lot to.
I
Really...
love the setting.
Oh, my
It's got this like New England island kind of feel.
Yeah.
Almost like Banshees of Inisherin-esque,
Yeah.
where you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's a small town, and I love the atmosphere. The cinematography is great too, and it's just kind of like unraveling the story piece by piece, kind of letting you pick everything up,
Introducing
not really
characters.
spoon feeding you. So
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, it's like Banshees, but instead of Ireland, you're in like kind of a shitty part of Massachusetts.
Yeah, it feels like a place where like Robert Eggers would make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that shit. So yeah, it's cool. Don't have much to say about it yet, but I'm enjoying it. And then we have Gran Turismo to go over.
Yep.
But first, we'll go through the one movie I watched this week that wasn't sports movie related or Gran Turismo,
Perfect.
which was Singing in the Rain.
Oh, you watched Singing in the Rain?
I did.
Ooh.
It was my recommendation for this week.
Heck yeah.
So I had to watch that, and I loved it.
Awesome.
It's really good. Do you know the concept of the movie or anything?
All I know
it's
is
about?
the song Singing in the Rain. That's
Yeah.
all I know.
It's it takes place like it's made in the 50s, but it takes place in the 20s when Hollywood was switching to sound
Oh, to the talkies?
to the talkies. Yeah, they were switching to talkies, and it's really funny, and it's got like a dark sense of humor about it because basically Gene Kelly and this other actress are like the stars of the world, and they're known as a duo. And Gene Hackman is like the best performer in the world. He can sing and dance and act, and he's like the greatest. But his stage partner has a abysmal voice. Like when she talks, it's you want to turn off the movie. It's the most annoying voice you'll ever hear in your life.
Jeez.
So they have to like find a way to make talkies with her voice because no one's ever heard her voice because she makes silent movies.
Yeah.
So it's just her face and like mouthing words. So they have to like find a way to make their movies not sound annoying as shit. And then you get all these like great musicals and great set pieces. And Gene Kelly, it's my first Gene Kelly movie. But holy fucking shit. That guy is a entertainer.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything with him in it,
Dude.
but I can tell just
First of all,
one look at the guy. That guy.
probably the most handsome person I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
He's gorgeous, but like his dancing is insane. He can sing. His acting is great. He's got so much charisma, and yeah, I really fucking liked it. I gave it a 4.5. Really easy. One of the more like just straight fun, entertaining movies, especially of that older period. But you're not gonna get bored watching Singing in the Rain. It's really easy to watch and a lot of fun.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't watch anything, but I did put a hurtin' on Mouse. I've got like
Graphic novel.
yeah, I got like 60 pages in, and it is amazing. The writing in it, the author writes characters like with their accents, so a lot of the times it can be really funny. But I just hit a pivotal moment in the book, and I started to tear up a little bit.
Oh,
It was pretty tough
crazy.
stuff, yeah. And you would think it's something that would happen really early on in the book, but it's really late in the book. It's almost over by the time this event happens, and you're like, by then you know the characters and you already know like what they've endured. So now you got more stuff, and it's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome. So if it ends as good as it has been so far, it can be pretty high up on my list. Gonna be pretty high up.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all caught up on the week. Football starts in 2 days. Just saying.
Then we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. But I drafted Travis Kelce in my fantasy league, and he got hurt today. Ooh. And the season hasn't started.
That's how we do it.
Woo! Fuck me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll go into Gran Turismo. Now, this Gran Turismo trailer is quite popular because everyone fucking hates it.
Dude, it honestly should be studied by scientists.
That's what I said when we left the movie. I said, we need to do research on why that trailer was so bad.
Frame
because,
for frame.
Because sometimes I'll watch a trailer and then I'll watch a movie and I'll say, dude, the trailer was nothing like the movie. Like, they just fucked up the trailer. But the Gran Turismo trailer was horrible. That's obvious. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, why was it horrible? Because the trailer is exactly like the movie, and people like the movie, but they hate the trailer. And I think, I don't like the song. I think the song's kind of stupid. And I won't stop now. Fuck that shit. That's
I didn't. Yeah,
it's like too serious of a song to have on Gran Turismo.
The weird part is like they had some kick-ass songs that played in the movie. They had some.
Dude, the soundtrack's great.
Yeah, they had like Black Sabbath playing in like certain moments, and it was like
Kenny G.
Yeah, use that.
Yep.
Just use that.
Yep. So I really have no idea why we hate the trailer, because we do.
I would dust him in a lot.
I've raced this track 1,000 times. Yeah. So I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on it, why that trailer's so bad. First of all, it got overplayed. We saw that trailer every time we saw a movie, so we already just hate it because we have seen it so many times. But the movie is much better than the trailer.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed the movie.
But there's not like, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like if you eat 2 bananas and then drink a Sprite, like everyone throws up, like that. They have somehow figured out
They've
some way.
concocted a trailer
Yeah,
to make people sick.
Scientific. It's like Epicac, but just for hate.
Yeah, for
For
shitting your
fucking
pants.
hate, dude.
Yeah, for shitting
By the
your
time I
pants
get done
in
watching
the-
that trailer,
in the
I want to punch someone in the
Yeah.
face.
Um,
It's like that noise from Kingsman that makes everyone want to kill each other. That's what that trailer is.
yeah.
Dude.
So yeah, directed by Neil Blomkamp. This was my first Neil Blomkamp movie. Well, okay. There's some lore to that.
Be honest here. Be honest.
Back
to
in
the folks.
2009, back when I was a youngin', I told my mom and sister I wanted to see District 9. We went into the theater. Nasty things started happening. I remember a man throwing up black fluids, and I told my mom I wanted to leave.
Hell yeah.
So we left. And then my sister was upset at me because there was a movie that she wanted to see, and I dragged them to a different movie and then left the movie. So I fucked them. I fucked them hard. That's on me. But so that's the story, is like technically I've seen 15 minutes of District 9, but no, I haven't actually seen it. And I haven't seen Chappie or Elysium. So this was my first full watch of the old Blomkamp.
I've seen District 9.
And you don't like it.
No, it was all right.
That movie has varying, like, there's people that really love it, and then there's people that don't.
So when I saw it as a youngster, I thought there was a part that was pretty cool, and it had a sad ending. So that kind of I was like, ooh, I don't like that very much. And then I've seen it like a couple times. I've seen it like 3 times, which is weird.
You've seen District 9 3 times?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
which is weird. I feel like it's always on TV, and for some reason I'm like, well, yeah, I'll just sit down and watch this. And I just remember it kind of being like kind of average for me. Nothing too nuts.
I'd like to check it out.
Chappie, I have seen parts of a lot. That's a movie that's always on TV, and for some reason, they're always playing Chappie, and I always start watching it like 45 minutes in, and I see Hugh Jackman in a mullet, and I'm like, nice.
I know nothing about Chappie or Elysium.
Yeah. I know they use a lot of, I suppose they're in like New Zealand or something, and they're using a lot of their jargon.
Ooh.
And
so subtitles necessary.
well, even more than that, because like these gangster guys, you know, they call themselves gangsta. You gangsta, like that's how they talk.
What's happening right now?
That's how the guys talk. But they're teaching Chappie to talk, and they're using words that I've never heard of, and it's not like an accent I can't understand. They're using words that to them mean something that to me means nothing.
Okay.
So we might have to do some studying before Chappie.
Yeah, Neil's sparked my interest with Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Shout out to Neil because he's been getting cocked recently.
You told me about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So he was hired to make an Alien movie / show. And he like worked on concept art and wrote a story, and he was going to do it. And for some reason, I'm not sure the exact reason, but they replaced him and sent him packing, and then hired Fede Alvarez, which I love Fede Alvarez. So I'm excited for that too. But apparently they used his concept art and his story and Fede Alvarez just took that and used it for his, which sucks. If that's true, that fucking sucks. And then apparently they wanted him to make a District 10, so he started working on that, and then they canceled it. So for a couple years now, he's just been getting shafted, and this is his return to form, and I think it's really, really solid.
It is, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna change your life. It's pretty formulaic, you can kind of guess what's going to happen, but there are times when you can't guess what's going to happen and things kind of surprise you. I like the performances. The lead guy and Jaimon Hansu that's my fucking boy.
Oh,
Jaimon, that's dude.
You know, full honesty, I doubted him for a second in the movie.
Why?
Because
at first, did you think he was going to be like the too hard on him dad that's like just
Well, no, like I wasn't buying like the heartbreak that like, because I feel like everyone can relate in having a dream that seems unrealistic and then no one around them believing. So there was a point in the movie where he was like, this is racing cars. This isn't what we talk about. And I was like, yeah, I mean, fucking lay into him more than that, dude. If you're really wanting to push him, like.
But he's like a gentle father.
He's a gentle father, but I was like, that whole. I don't think it was him. In retrospect, I think it was just that sequence kind of feeling weird because he'd already been like accepted into the academy of best of the best and going to race. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to be a race car driver. And he's like, you're not going to be a race car driver. He's like, no, they sent me a letter. I'm going to go race a car right now. And he's like, nah, you're not. And it just seemed weird. But then towards the end, you know, the scene I'm talking about when he fucking shows up, I was like, oh, you fucking animal.
Yeah.
He's a lunatic, dude.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything, but they have a conversation at the end that may have made me tear up.
Yeah.
May or may not have.
And then the second that happened, I was like, Carl, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
How could you think that for a second?
Yeah. I didn't have that experience that you had with him early on. I see Jaimon, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man. And I love that guy. And he's awesome. And yeah, the performances are good. The first half is pretty generic. And you're kind of just going through the motions. But then the second he gets to the Gran Turismo like training facility,
yeah,
like once he wins the competition and gets entered in, that's when the movie really kicks into high gear.
Yeah. They switch into maximum overdrive.
And it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
Like Carl said, the soundtrack kind of went hard, dude. There's a sad moment in the movie, and then Bon Iver starts playing.
Ooh.
I came.
Yeah.
The second I heard Bon Iver come on, I was like, this instantly got an extra star.
Yeah. That riff happened and you went, Bon. I was like, holy
I leaned over and Bon.
It was like within a note of that song.
Because I
playing.
listen
You
to that
went,
song all the time. It's called Wash, and
Yeah.
I fucking love that song.
That was crazy. Like I would have picked it up, but like in an instantaneous second, Bon.
Yeah, Bon.
I know what's happening.
But But yeah, the like final spoiler. There's a big race at the end. That race was like pretty intense. Like I was kind of like, fuck yeah, Jan, fucking win this shit.
Yeah.
Go from gamer to racer.
Yeah.
Fucking tell them.
Le Mans.
Yeah. 24 hours of racing.
That was in another movie that
Ford
I
v
watched.
Ferrari.
Yeah, it wasn't Ford v Ferrari, but there was like anytime that's in a movie, I've seen like
Was it
3
Rush?
movies. It wasn't Rush. I think it was The Art of Racing in the Rain that I watched.
Oh.
It was Le Mans, which wasn't bad.
I
Wasn't
don't
good.
I'm not buying it.
Wasn't good.
Not buying that
bad.
for a second.
But something about that is cool as shit. I would never go there and fucking watch a race for 24 hours, but that's nuts.
The thought of like you going to the race, spending a couple hours there hanging out, and then going like to a hotel room to sleep, but then knowing that they're still racing and like at night, and then you go back the next day and like see the race finished, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen it before in Ford v Ferrari, and it's pretty neat how they go for 24 hours. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if I have much else to say without spoiling.
I have a question for you, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer that we all know and love. The effect of like the car disassembling around them and reassembling. How'd you feel about that?
I thought it was cool, but I liked the effect more when he was racing in the simulator and then the car built around him.
Yeah.
Because when his car disassembled, I was like, I mean, it looks good, but what are you showing us here? Like, what's the purpose for us seeing these car parts?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was like in the shop and he was like changing out parts, and
Yeah.
it was like he's just in the middle of a race and you're like, look at all these car parts, and it's like, I mean, it looks cool, but like, why is this happening? Yeah, why
We
they're
were in the middle of a
racing.
race.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I hated it completely in the trailer, and then when I watched the movie, I was like, "This is really cool."
Yeah. It feels like there's times where it really feels like Neil Blomkamp is like a gamer and he understands what gamers would want. Like when he's running from the cops at the start and you get like the aerial, like the shot that it looks like you're playing Gran Turismo, like the overhead shot. And then there's some times where it goes a little too far and it says like, ran away from cop, like achievement.
Cops
And
evaded.
Yeah,
goal
cops
achieved.
evaded achievement. And it's like,
Like I get that.
I get it.
This is
it,
Gran
it, it
Turismo.
doesn't ruin it, but it's like, all right, let's calm down a little.
Where's
bit,
the
Neil.
chase?
Yeah.
How can I cut to it?
Yeah, but there's some cool moments, like when they recreated the shot of him like pumping his arm, like winning the race, and like straight from the game. That's pretty sick. Because there's a lot of video game movies where they don't acknowledge that they're video games. Like in Super Mario Brothers, as much as I fucking despise that movie, they did the only thing that you need to do in a Mario movie, which is the side-scrolling camera.
Yeah.
Like you need to do one shot where there's a side-scrolling camera.
Yeah.
And Sonic needs to do it too, and they didn't. So fuck them. But there's just a couple things if you're making a video game adaptation that you just have to do.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's pretty cool. It feels like Neil was a Gran Turismo fan, and he was like, I'm putting the shit in here, and fuck you.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, pretty neat. I gave it a 3-star.
Yeah. I was at the same.
Yeah, if you watch it, you'll have a good time. You'll go home, you'll be like, nice, and then you'll probably never think about it again. But, there's nothing wrong with that. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's a solid base hit for Neil.
Sometimes you just go to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need points on the scoreboard.
Here's a question. What franchise would you like to see Neil take over?
You know, it's funny you should say that because when you were talking about the alien thing, I was like, Neil could make a really gnarly alien movie.
We talked in the car on the way home about he could make a good Predator movie.
Yeah.
Because he loves technology. He loves using CGI to portray technology, and I feel like there's so many missed opportunities with like modern Predator movies, because the original Predator's great, but those CGI effects haven't aged that well, and the new Predator will not be spoken of. So, but Prey was good. Prey was a good
Prey.
return to form.
Prey was sick.
Hopefully they start doing more stuff like that. But I feel like Neil making like his version of a Prey movie would be really cool.
Yeah.
Just like a side, not connected to the original movie or anything. Just like you take a Predator, put him in a random place,
Yeah.
go nuts.
Not really knowing, so strictly off of my District 9 knowledge and knowing what he likes to make, I could see him doing some really cool stuff in the Halo world.
He was supposed to make a Halo movie.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with it, but he was supposed to.
Anyone in Hollywood catches wind of this, stop fucking my boy Neil.
Yeah, stop fucking Neil and stop fucking Halo fans.
Yeah,
because they're getting shafted nonstop.
because like there's I know you're not a big Halo guy, but there's a lot of sci-fi obviously which he likes, and there's some really cool opportunities if you wanted to do some nuts like body horror stuff with some of the like other alien species, and then with the Spartans themselves and like the surgery that they had to like go through to become Spartans. So I think Neil could do something really cool with that.
Dude, he was supposed to make a RoboCop movie.
Oh my!
He was supposed to make a movie called RoboCop Returns, which was slated to be a direct continuation of the original movie, which would ignore both sequels and the remake from 2014.
Hell yeah!
That would be fucking crazy.
That would be
so
nuts.
he got shafted on RoboCop Returns. He got shafted on Alien 5. Halo. Halo is the first of Blomkamp's canceled projects, which would have been his debut feature film had all gone to plan. So it was... Oh, that was the Alex Garland script that I told you about. How Alex Garland wrote a Halo script. Neil Blomkamp was supposed to be the one to direct it.
Oh my god!
That would have been the best thing ever made.
Dude,
Dude.
I wish you hadn't told me. Any
Yeah,
of
that's
this, dude.
that fucking
I could have
sucks.
lived in a bliss of not knowing.
So Alex Garland wrote the script. Peter Jackson was brought on to produce, and they wanted Guillermo del Toro to direct, but he turned it down. And when he turned it down, Blomkamp was drafted in. So
I
that fucking
love
sucks.
Del Toro, but I think I would feel better with Neil in the driver's seat on Halo.
Yeah, I think, but Guillermo did Pacific Rim.
Fuck, he did do Pacific
And
Rim.
I feel like they're not the same thing, but a big like sci-fi blockbuster. I feel like,
no,
I feel like
I
that's a
get what
good
you're saying.
like. He probably would have made a good Halo movie if he did Pacific Rim.
No, he would have. Like,
Yeah.
Guillermo's really good. He
What
would've
it comes
made-
down to
whatever
is
he
like,
made would have been good. I think I would be more excited for Neil just because I haven't really seen him get much. And to me, Del Toro's already proven himself as being like just the fucking
a
man.
stud.
Yeah.
You should read that Halo script. It's online, and you should, because you're a big Halo guy. You
Oh,
should
dude.
read it and tell me if it's like good. Because
I
I've
didn't
heard
even-
it's one of the like. I've heard it's a great script.
I didn't know it was something that like people could read.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna read it and just be fucking livid.
Yeah, then
the
you're gonna
whole
be mad.
time.
But like, someone can always use it. Like, someone can always say, "Hey, Alex, can we use your Halo script for this new movie?" It's not like it's like dead forever. I
Yeah.
mean, you can always make it. I don't know why they haven't, but
That's really nuts.
yeah,
That
So,
would have been really big on my list.
dude,
to
Neil's just
see.
been shafted nonstop.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He's kind of like my favorite director now. Knowing all that, like,
Dude, he's the
that poor
underdog.
guy.
Yeah.
He's been cocked for all this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gran Turismo's a nice base hit. So now he can go find, new project to work on, new franchise to take over maybe.
Yeah, maybe go
He could
do
do
that
a
Halo
fucking
movie.
Terminator movie.
Oh,
That'd be
dude.
great. And stop with all this bringing Arnold back when he's 85 years old. Stop all that shit.
Yeah, listen.
Leave Arnold. He had his time. We all love him.
Yeah.
Move on.
You're not gonna find a bigger Arnold fan than this guy talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to see him do anything
Yeah.
in the Terminator world anymore.
Yep. There's so many opportunities for Terminator movies that are outside of the Arnold timeline.
Arnold's in the Clint Eastwood point in his life where you just cast him as a grumpy old guy that beats the fuck out of people. That's where Arnold's at
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd make a good Terminator movie. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So now we'll get into our top 5 sports movies.
Top 5 of the sports movies.
Yep. So a couple of these I haven't seen in a while. So not going to have a ton to say about them. I can just recite what I remember. But the number 1 on my list I watched last night. So I can
We can really
dive in.
okay.
I can give you some detailed thoughts. So I'll start. Well, we haven't seen each other's lists, so this is all going to be a surprise. Oh, fuck. Do you have a song ready?
I don't, but I could pull one out of my ass.
You're never ready. I got my song.
Okay, go ahead.
Here you go. Did you see my phone?
No,
Oh, okay. This is a score. I know I'm kind of breaking the rules, but
it's okay.
it's a pretty distinct score.
It sounds like something out of Tron.
It's not Tron.
Oh my gosh.
See if I can fast forward a little bit.
Oh my god, that sounds so cool.
It's fucking sick.
Jeez,
That's what you get. That's all you're getting.
Am I that fucking stupid?
It's definitely a movie
Thief?
you love. It's not Thief, but that was a good guess. Think of like
It's
a
something
brother.
like that.
Think of a brother of Thief.
Brother of Thief.
Like something like Thief.
Feet?
No.
Collateral?
No. It's not directed by Michael Mann.
I don't think I know, dude.
What's a modern thief?
Oh, is it it's Good Time.
Yep.
Yeah, Good Time.
Good time. Yep.
Yeah.
Good boy. Yeah, that score is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I want to watch Good Time
See,
right now
I feel
just 'cause
stupid that I remember. Cause
Yeah, it's
I
one
was
of those that's like-
it's so fast and it gives you anxiety and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah,
dude.
it's a fucking awesome score.
Yeah.
I love that
Good
shit.
Time, dude.
Yeah, top 5 sports movies. Now we're ready. Unless you wanted to do one.
No, I would have just done a really easy one. It would take me
Okay,
2 seconds.
all right.
It's fine. I'm a
It's-
bad co-host.
So listen, this movie game, I mean, this song game that we have is like kind of hard to like think of one every week because it's either way too easy or way too hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like we like the same movies, so anything that I think is easy, you'll think is easy, and I pretty much have to go to scores, but scores that I think are distinct enough for you to get and not like a random.
But I mean, at the same time, it doesn't really matter if we get it right or not.
Yeah, it's not like we're keeping track.
yeah.
It's just a neat little
We should just play some
neat
shit
little
that we think
knickknack
is
for the
cool
listeners.
for each other. Just like, hey, this is something I thought was cool,
Yeah.
and then
That's
how it goes.
It's a good point. Doesn't matter if it's easy or hard. It can just be like, listen to this tune.
Yeah, because that was
Isn't this a
fucking
cool
awesome.
tune?
Yeah. Now I want to go watch Good Time.
Yeah.
I want to watch Penny Safdie run through plate glass.
I want to see Robert Pattinson take a shit in this guy's house.
I go take a shit.
Make out with a 12-year-old.
That was weird. That was
It was.
all right. You're number 5.
My number 5 sports movie. I've got The Wrestler.
At number 5.
Number 5.
You.
I'm a rascal.
scoundrel.
I love gritty shit. Gritty, dark movies that leave you feeling depressed. And that's what The Wrestler is. Directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Mickey Rourke. Released 2009. And it's about this washed-up wrestler who was big in the 80s, but he's retired, and he doesn't really... Like, he's retired from the big leagues. He's not in, like, what you would call the WWE anymore. Like, he's small-time wrestler. He's not making a lot of money. He can't really pay his bills. He's living in a trailer. He's having to take all these drugs to maintain his wrestler physique because he's an old man, but he still does these like little wrestler shows for like a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because like these people will come up to him and recognize him. Like he got this job at a grocery store in the deli, and this guy recognized him, and it's like so embarrassing for him that he can go out in public and people can recognize him and say, you're Randy the Ram, and he's like bagging your groceries, and he's like, it's embarrassing that all these people that used to know him, like he fell off and he is like a normal person now. And it's a drama. He's got this relationship with his daughter that she doesn't really get along with him very well, and it's just really gritty. I think that's the word I'd use for The Wrestler. It's shot on film and it looks so good. Like, it just looks so perfect. The way Darren Aronofsky shot it, and it's got a great ending. Just it's short. It doesn't take too much up of your time, and it's got Marissa Tomei in it. That's never a bad thing.
Give me that.
Give me some Marissa all day.
Yeah.
Never gonna complain. And it's probably my favorite Aronofsky movie.
Heck yeah.
It's not like there's a ton of competition, because I believe I've seen 4 of his movies, and I hate 3 of them.
That's how you do it.
That's
how you
one
do
that
it
I
right
don't.
there.
So, yeah. So, like I said, I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't remember a ton, but I love it. I want to rewatch it soon.
Heck yeah.
That's my number 5.
All right.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is The Wrestler.
Did you add it after I said it?
No, I had it on my list, but I thought it would be funny if I just let you go on this rampage.
Yeah, because you normally go, me too.
Yeah, no. I wanted to, as the old bait and switch on that
okay.
one. Yeah, mine's The Wrestler.
You have anything to say?
Everything you said, I haven't seen it in a while either, and I originally had it a little bit higher on my list, but I haven't seen it in a while, and I haven't really had the drive to see it in a while. I think it's because, for the same reason that, like, $1 Million Baby isn't on my list. Like, $1 Million Baby is an excellent
Too sad.
movie, but how often do I want to watch $1 Million Baby?
How often do you want to feel pain?
Exactly. Now, The Wrestler is not on that level of sadness for me personally, but it is really sad. It is dark. It is,
It's just depressing.
Yeah.
It's just a depressing movie to watch.
So I put it on my number 5 just because I don't think it's too good to not put on there, but it's also just sad enough for me to not want to watch all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
There's also this funny scene when he's working at the grocery store in the deli, and this lady asks for potato salad, and he starts like putting it in the container, and he weighs it, and she's like a little less. So he goes and he puts some back, and then he weighs it again. She's like, a little more, and then he puts a little more in, weighs it again. And then she's like, a little less. And then he walks back and starts eating it out of the container. and then he puts it on there and he's like, a little less? And then he freaks out and quits. But yeah, I don't remember a ton, but yeah, I love The Wrestler.
Yeah.
So my number 4.
Number 4.
We have The Karate Kid.
You know what? In my travels, doing my list, The Karate Kid came up a lot of times, and I was like, technically, that is a sport movie, but like, I don't really think of it as one.
That's weird.
Because it's like when you get into like
if The Karate
martial
Kid's not a
arts,
sports movie, the Rocky's not a sports movie.
is The Drunken Master a sports movie?
I haven't seen it.
It's about martial arts.
Sure. Yeah.
Just any martial arts movie. See, that's like where I'm like, I don't know if I'd put any martial arts movie in the category of like a sport movie.
The Karate Kid is like organized into a tournament.
That's where I think the change comes into play, is like, because it's a tournament, then it's like,
because it's like John
it's
Wick's
an
not a sports
official-
movie.
Yeah, but it's an official, like, governed thing with judges and rules.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part that I missed, because I kept seeing it come up, and I was like, what the heck? The Karate Kid? That's just, that's
That's just mumbo jumbo.
That's karate. That's not.
Yeah.
Like, I think of like boxing, UFC, golf.
Yeah.
Like all the traditional stuff.
all those golf movies.
Happy Gilmore, Caddyshack,
Right.
Tin Cup.
There's no serious golf movies. There's no like.
I actually don't know.
There's no like The Wrestler for golf. It's all just comedies. Yeah. So
You don't have bad times when you golf.
no. The Karate Kid, when I first started getting into movies, was actually one of my favorite movies. Back in like 2018, it was like Back to the Future and The Karate Kid were like the two that I thought were like, holy shit, this is amazing. Because I didn't watch good movies growing up. I watched Joe Dirt. So when I watched good movies for the first time, I was like, wow, this is what I've been missing this whole time.
This is crazy.
Yeah, so The Karate Kid is something I could like watch anytime. Really easy to watch. It's a fun 80s movie. Great characters. Very iconic. Great finale with the fucking
The
kick.
crane kick
The
at the
crane
end?
kick, yeah.
Oh,
Just an underdog story. You know, got some funny moments too.
yeah.
Mr. Miyagi's fucking hilarious.
Yep.
Love the setting in like California on the beach.
Heck yeah, dude.
Just great stuff.
When he's like standing on those posts
Yeah.
and doing the fucking fists.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
cool. So
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, I've seen it probably 2 or 3 times, and I watched the first like, how much did we watch? Like 2 or 3 seasons of Cobra Kai.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I want to say I watched 3 seasons, and I actually really enjoyed that show,
You did.
especially the Johnny and Ralph. No, that's his real name. What's the kid's name? Ralph Macchio.
Oh,
I don't remember his name.
it's Billy.
It's not Billy. Let me see. Whatever it is, it's not Billy. His name is Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah, so especially the Daniel and Johnny stuff in Cobra Kai I thought was great. I feel like their lives progressed the way you would expect. Like with Daniel being like a car salesman and like thriving off of his success as in karate as a kid, and then Johnny being like a burnout and not really working and just drinking beer all the time and
Drinking Coors Banquet like a real man.
Yeah, it's really funny too. Johnny's really funny as a character because he's so out of touch, like all the kids that he's training, and it's I don't know. Yeah, I love Cobra Kai. I did like it. It kind of I stopped watching.
Yeah.
I think it was the newest season, maybe season 4 or 3. I don't remember, but there were like 2 good seasons where I was like, this is stupid, but I like it.
Yeah. but
I'm
you were
having
on
a good
board.
time. Yeah. So, yeah, Karate Kid number 4.
My number 4 is when like it starts to get a little wild, but it's Talladega Nights.
Oh God. All right. Show's over, folks.
Here's the deal. I was gonna put like a serious movie in there, but I watched.
This is your list. This is
I watched
your favorites.
I watched Talladega Nights recently, and it is so fucking good, dude.
Is that right?
It's one of the funniest things ever. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I mean, technically they're racing cars.
No, it's a sports movie.
Yeah.
It's allowed.
So,
I just think shouldn't be on your list, but I mean, it's allowed.
but dude, it's so good. I don't think I really need to say much.
You know, I've
It's
never seen
Talladega
it all the
Nights.
way through, so I'm shitting on it. But like, I've seen the first 30 minutes like 4 times.
I promise you right now, you would hate it.
Me and Carl's
You
big
would hate
disconnect
that
is
movie
he
so
loves those 2000s Will Ferrell comedies like Step Brothers and
Yeah.
Anchorman, and I think Anchorman is my favorite of like his Adam McKay 2000s comedies run. That movie's really funny. Like Anchorman is really fucking funny, and Anchorman 2 is funny too.
Yeah. I really
but
like Anchorman.
Step Brothers, it's fine. Like I don't hate it by any means, but it's never been one of my favorite comedies or something I go back to often. I don't like it as much as other people, I guess, but I enjoy it.
Maybe if you like Anchor, it's a lot of the same kind of stuff as Anchorman, with him just being this cocky asshole.
But I don't know. The tone of Anchorman feels like the way he's giving his lines is like different than in Talladega Nights. In Anchorman, it's like he's just an asshole, but in Talladega Nights, it's almost like he's stupid. And
I mean, yeah,
those are sort of different for me, and you all in Anchorman you also get Brick. So
Brick's
there's that, and you get I don't remember the guy's Champ. Yeah. Brick and Champ. That's
whammy.
Anchorman is the standout for me of the Will Ferrell stuff. But I'll sit down and I'll fully watch Talladega Nights one day. Someday
The old
soon.
college try. Maybe it's not for you. And it probably isn't.
Yeah, probably isn't. But
yeah,
I'll give her a whirl.
That's my number 4, Talladega Nights.
All right. My number 3 is Rocky.
Them's fighting words.
Listen, you should be happy because I almost put the Karate Kid over it.
You should be happy that you're not getting a fucking knuckle sandwich for dinner, dude.
Rocky's just, it's a classic. I really love it. I mean, it's number 3.
It's got to be on the list.
It's got to be on the list.
No matter what.
It's basically the first sports movie.
Yeah.
Like it created the formula. It created the sports movie formula. And Sylvester Stallone, it's really crazy hearing like how it got made and how the movie is about an underdog, but like the movie being made was an underdog story.
Yeah.
Because Sylvester Stallone was like broke. He had no money. He was a nobody. He wrote a script and he wanted to sell it to like big studios, and they would offer him a ton of money. They would offer him like $250,000, I think, at the time, which was in the 70s. So that's like $1 million in the 70s, and he had no money. He's like us.
Living on
He's
the
like a
streets.
civilian. That's a shit ton of money, and he would turn it down because he said, I want to be Rocky. I want to be the lead of the movie because that's going to be worth a lot more than whatever you're offering me for the screenplay.
Yeah.
And so he stuck to his guns. He waited until someone would accept a movie with him playing Rocky, and he did. And he waited, and someone finally took it, and then it became one of the biggest like successes of all time. And it sparked his career. He went on to make like 7 movies, and then all the other stuff he did, like Rambo. Like that all came from him. Not to be cringy, but like believing in himself and sticking to his guns and like saying I can do this and I'm gonna wait until like someone gives me the opportunity. And and the movie's good. I love Apollo Creed.
Oh my
fucking
God,
Carl
dude.
Weathers. That's
Carl Weathers is
dude.
fucking-
Is it in Rocky 2 when he's like, "There is no tomorrow"? That scene fucking gives me chills.
That is Rocky 2.
Damn Rock. Like, oh, that's fucking good. That's good stuff. But I like Rocky. I haven't seen it enough times to like really give you a dissertation on it, and I'm not gonna say anything about Carl's relationship to Rocky because he'll get into it. But
spoiler alert, it's on my list.
he likes it. He's fond of the old Rock.
Somewhere on the old list.
But yeah, it's not something I have like a crazy relationship with. But it's a classic and I enjoy it, and it's number 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it made it on the list, and I'm very happy it was above The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
I know one of the movies above it. I get why you put it above there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about the other ones.
Okay.
You're
going to be unhappy with one of them.
My number 3 is The Sandlot.
Oh. Okay.
It's your classic coming of age baseball movie. It's super funny. I love all the characters. I love seeing that kid in his long ass hat walking around.
His mile long bill. Yeah.
The "You're killing me" Smalls is fucking everywhere. Like it's like it's very reminiscent to like Stand By Me, but with baseball.
Yep.
So
James Earl Jones.
yeah, it's a freebie to just add in a good movie.
Yeah.
As a sports movie.
It's a nice like escapism, like make you feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack. It's set in the 50s.
Relate to any of those guys.
No, yeah, I didn't. My childhood was nothing like that.
I didn't pretend to drown and then make out with a hot chick. I wasn't that
no,
cool.
I didn't wear a huge hat. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not on my list, but I do like The Sandlot a lot.
Heck yeah, dude.
It's a fun time. So here's where things get tricky.
What do you got for me?
My number 2 is Creed.
Ooh, you know what? Creed was gonna make it onto my list at one point. Yep.
Yeah, I told Carl that Creed was better than Rocky one time, and he wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, I do think it's one of the best. It's one of the best Rocky saga movies, right? If someone was like, it's the. I get why you think it's the best, and I think it's at least in the top 3 best Rocky movies. So, I mean, that's fine. Regardless, Rocky's getting some shine, so that's what matters.
Yeah. So Creed, directed by Ryan Coogler, and this is a movie that nobody thought would be good. Like when it was announced, like, oh, you're making a Rocky spinoff about Apollo Creed's son. Just sounds like a cash grab. It doesn't sound like a good idea, really. And then you watch it and you're like, holy fucking shit, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I think I watched it earlier this year before we watched Creed 3, and it really stuck out to me, like how great Creed is. And what they do is you root for Adonis because he's got this like chip on his shoulder because of his famous father, and he doesn't go by Creed, he goes by Williams, or it's some like generic. It's his mom's name, but Johnson. That's it. He doesn't go by Creed, and he wants to become a fighter to make a name for himself because he doesn't want to live in his father's footsteps. And so you get like him meeting Rocky, and he asks Rocky to train him. He says no, and then he tells him that he's Apollo's son, and that's kind of what makes Rocky train him, because I guess he sort of feels like he owes it to him, because he still feels guilt from Apollo dying, sort of at his hands, like he didn't throw in the towel, and which just builds this like great like father-son-ish dynamic between Adonis and Rocky. And then Rocky, I guess this is a spoiler, I'm not sure if it's in the trailer or not, but he gets cancer. And it creates this whole new dynamic with Rocky and Adonis, because Rocky, he said, like, when he first got diagnosed, he said, like, I'm just going to let it take me out. Like, I lost Adrian, and
he doesn't have a good
name.
He doesn't have
his friend.
Paulie,
yeah. Like, everyone he loved has died, and
his
he's
son
alone.
Doesn't really care about
his son doesn't have a relationship with him anymore, and he was like, I don't really have a reason to like live. Like, it's and Adonis was like, no, fuck that shit, and he was like, if I fight, you fight,
dude.
And
that line, oh my god.
And then so you get this montage of Adonis training for the fight, and then Rocky fighting his cancer, and Adonis helping him and taking his medication and like doing therapy and all this. And it's just one of the most memorable and great and emotional like training sequences that I can really remember. And it has so much meaning. And then he builds this relationship with Tessa Thompson's character, and she has this like hearing problem, and just everyone feels very real, and all the dynamics are great. The soundtrack's great, fun music. I love this scene when he's training and he runs down the street and the kids are riding dirt bikes next to him in Philly, and he looks up at like Rocky in the window and starts getting hype, and
heck yeah,
I just love that shit. The fighting scenes are also really well filmed.
Yeah,
like Ryan Coogler fucking went crazy.
Yeah.
There's one takes, there's like great camera movements, you get to see everything, and then there's this really sad moment in the fight when Adonis is getting beat to shit. He's fighting Victor Drago, who's Ivan Drago's son, and he's a demon.
Well,
that guy's like
two.
No. Oh, Conlon. Sorry, Conlon. Yeah, Ricky Conlon, yeah.
He's
and
like
that guy is
the best fighter.
Yeah, he's just the best fighter in the world. He is a demon. And he's fucking wailing on him. He's getting his eye, he can barely see out of his eye. And the doctor comes up to get, like, say, how many fingers am I holding up? And then Rocky's tapping him on his neck behind his head, so he's telling him, like, it's 2, and he taps him 4 times to tell him it's 4.
Yeah.
And Rocky was like, I'm calling this fight. Like, you're
done.
You're done. And he was like, no, don't call it. And he was like, and Rocky was like, why? And he was like, to prove I'm not a mistake.
Oh, my God.
And I'm going to cry right now. Like, that's so sad. And then he gets knocked out, and his life starts flashing before his eyes. And you see, like, Rocky, you see him and Tessa Thompson, you see him meeting his mother at the foster home, and then he sees Apollo. And the second he sees Apollo, he jolts awake. And I just love that little touch and that little moment of, like, the second he sees his father, like, he's getting up and he's back in the fight. I just think Creed's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's easily the best of that franchise.
Yeah, I love it. I came around on a lot because I initially didn't understand the relationship between Rocky and Adonis, because it seemed like Adonis was kind of like angry at him at first, and then, you know, but like in retrospect, like when you think of the full hand that he was given, it's like it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gonna be my number 5 instead of the wrestler, and at the last second I changed it to the wrestler, like before we did it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Creed more than the wrestler. I would rewatch Creed more often than the wrestler. A lot of the times, like the tears are like happy tears in Creed, and the wrestler is just like, man, this world fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there's a switcheroo in the list. I don't know.
Yeah. Creed's fucking awesome.
Yeah, Creed's fucking.
That's the moral here.
And then Michael B. Jordan looks fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah.
He's fucking jacked to the gills.
Yeah. I think I know what your number 2 is. So if you don't mind, if you want to give your number 1, so we can talk about that movie at the same time.
Okay, yeah. So again, this is the number 1, and then we'll go back to my number 2, which is your number 1.
Which is my number 1. Yeah. That way it's just easier to talk about.
Yeah, my number 1 is Rocky.
Yep.
For the longest time, Rocky was my go-to answer for like what my favorite movie of all time is, because I genuinely don't have a favorite movie of all time. Like it's impossible to pull something like that out of your ass when I've seen as much as...
And when you're a cinephile like me.
I don't know. I've seen a lot
Because
of
then you just
stuff.
say The Nice Guys.
I've seen some... I mean, but even then, like, there's movies you like as much as The Nice Guys.
Whoa. Like what?
The Batman?
That's number 2.
I don't know. Like, it like, any day, like...
I will say those 2 are in a tier of their own. Like... There's
like gun to your head
the
right
Nice
now.
Guys, and there's the Batman, and then after those 2, there's like a big drop off. So those 2 are sort of interchangeable.
Yeah. So like one day it could be the Batman, one day it could be the Nice Guys.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's kind of how I am with like a bunch of movies.
Yeah. Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. I grew up watching Rocky. I love everything about it. I love the atmosphere. They go to the zoo in the snow, and it's fucking great. I love the Rocky Adrian love story. I love Rocky as a character. I think he's a big goofball.
Yep.
He has turtles. He buys turtles.
He does.
The story behind the movie, like you said, is fantastic, and I think I've seen it countless times. It's so many fucking times. Anytime Rocky's on, I usually sit down and watch the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also one of the very first movies I watched where the quote unquote good guy didn't win.
Yeah.
And that kind of, like, I didn't understand that at first, like why he was like. I looked over at my dad. I was like, why is he happy? Like, he lost the fight. He got his ass kicked.
Because he went 10 rounds with the best
and he
fighter
was like,
in the world.
like, he proved that he could like compete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all that he wanted to do, was to prove that he could compete. It's not about winning. It's about, like, I earned that spot.
Yeah.
And that, like, that changed everything for me. Like, everything as far as story goes, I'm like, the good guy doesn't have to win. He can just get to a point where he's happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good enough.
Yeah.
And so
Sports movies most of the time aren't about like the crown or like the ring. It's always about something else.
yeah, but that was the first time I'd seen that.
Yeah.
And that fucking rocked me to the fucking core, dude. And he was like, Adrian,
Yeah.
Adrian. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
love that
dude,
shit.
You're fucking killing me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could go on forever about Rocky. It's amazing.
Classic.
But my number 2, your number 1,
Motherfucking Warrior.
Yep.
God damn.
That movie is fucking awesome.
So I watched it again last night. I want to say that's my 4th watch of it. And there's a big teardrop after Warrior on my list. There's Warrior at number 1, big teardrop, and then there's Creed. They're not even close to me. Warrior is by far my favorite sports movie. And since I watched it last night, I can kind of go into some detail about the things I love about it. So, watching it last night, it really hit me like, first of all, how nuanced the script is. And they don't really tell you much when the movie starts. You have to piece everything together. So you're dropped in this world where all these things have happened, but you don't know what's happened. So it's about this family. Tommy, played by Tom Hardy, and Brendan, played by Joel Edgerton, and their father, Patty, played by Nick Nolte, who is you can't understand a word he's saying in this movie. Same with Tom Hardy. Put on the fucking subtitles if you watch Warrior. But basically, Tommy and Brendan are brothers, and their father, when they were kids, was an alcoholic, and he was a drunk, and they don't really tell you what happened. Like, there's no flashbacks. The bad movies could easily give you flashbacks, and you can see what happened.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened if this was a bad movie. It would have shown you everything that happened, but it's just briefly referenced in passing. Like, there's this great line in the opening scene. So the opening scene of the movie is Nick Nolte coming home and Tommy sitting on his steps, and he's catching up with him. You find out later that Tommy was in the military. He was a Marine, and that's why he's home now.
Yeah.
And so he comes home from the military. He's sitting on his dad's steps, and he's like, Nick Nolte says, like, yeah, I actually paid somebody to go, like, check on you, to, like, see if you were okay and, like, what was going on. And he goes, and Tommy goes, is that a part of the 12-step plan, or does a guy like you get 24? And that line just really fucking blew me away.
Yeah.
And I was like, what an amazing way to, like, creatively say you were worse than those guys at the Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. You're a different league of alcoholic.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's really, it's throughout Tommy being there, all of his little quips, his little, like, him lashing out at his father, like, that's kind of where you have to piece together, like, the kind of person his dad was.
Yeah. He's looking at his dad's house. He's, like, looking at the furniture and stuff, and he says, there's not much of a woman's touch around here. And he goes, yeah, no more women for me, Tommy. And then he goes, yeah, it must be hard to find a woman that can take a punch nowadays. And just these little lines that, like, if you're not really paying attention, you might not even pick up on them. But these little seeds are planted throughout the whole movie. And by the end of the movie, you get, like, a pretty good idea of what happened and what broke this family apart. But it's never spoon-fed to you. It's all stuff that you've got to really think and, like, piece things together. So
it's genius too, because if he's as bad as they're making him out to be, if you see him do these things, it's easy to paint him as the bad guy. Mm-hmm. But you don't see him do these things.
That's what's interesting.
They draw him to be sympathetic.
Yeah.
Like, at the end, like, towards like when he first got there and he found that like poster in the basement, he was like, I hurt my knees coming up and down to get this poster because he thought it would be like fun for him and his son to look at. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, look at the poster.
Yeah.
But obviously I haven't seen what Tommy has seen. I haven't seen what Brendan has seen.
Right. That's what's interesting is the movie starts and we haven't seen anything. We have no idea what happened and why Tommy and Brendan hate him so much. But we see him trying. He's 3 years sober when the movie starts, and he's trying to have a relationship with his sons again. And they're not having it. They're saying like, that's too fucking bad. Like, that's too late. I don't need you. I'm a grown adult now. Like, I needed you when I was a kid, and you were horrible. So, like Tommy says to him many times, like, me and Brendan have no use for you. He said the only thing me and Brendan have in common, because he also hates Brendan, which we'll go into later, which you also don't find out much about till later, why he hates him. But he says, the only thing me and Brendan have in common is that we have no use for you. I'm like, God damn. Like, that is some mean shit.
Yeah, Tommy's a cold-blooded.
Yeah, but like we
dude.
said, like, we didn't see what happened with these kids. And so it can be, like, sort of uncomfortable to see this old man who's, like, 3 years sober really trying to, like, he's an old man and he's trying to connect with his kids again. And they're just treating him like shit. And it's sort of hard to watch, but, they have a reason. They're not doing that for no reason. And you also see more of these characters, and Brendan and Tommy are not mean people at all to anyone else.
Yeah.
They're mean to him because of their relationship and how he used to act. But to anyone else, they're really cool people. Yeah. And, so you can tell it was obviously like some really, really bad shit that went on between them.
We also don't know how many times he's done this before.
Right.
Of like, oh, I'm better now.
Yeah.
Or this time I'm different.
Yeah.
Like he could have like done that several times, and now it's like, well, everything you say is bullshit.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. It's a really unique, cool way of creating a character that you can have in the back of your head vilified.
Mm-hmm.
But sympathize for what's going on now.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing him as he is now, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And then you meet Brendan, who is a teacher. He's a physics teacher, and he's having money problems, and he's about to lose his house. So he's going to these like little backyard fights in strip club parking lots to make like $100, just like barely any money. He's going and getting, beat up for this money. And he comes to school with like a black eye and like all these bruises. And so he gets suspended. Like he gets suspended from school without pay because he's going after school to try to make more money. So now he's really fucked because he already wasn't making enough money. That's why he was doing the fighting. And then the thing he was doing to get extra money on top of work just cost him his job for the next like semester. And so that's when he decides like, I'm going to join the Sparta competition, which is this big American mixed martial arts tournament. And Tommy decides to fight too. He goes to his dad and he says, like, I need you to train me. I'm going to get back into fighting, but this doesn't mean anything. This isn't me and you rekindling our relationship and me forgiving you. He said, I'm not going to train with someone I don't know. And if there's anything you are useful for, it's training.
Yeah.
And so his dad agrees to it and he starts training him. And we don't really know why Tommy's fighting. It's been very like undisclosed why he's back in Pittsburgh and why he's joining the competition. But
I think they both have fighting backgrounds, right?
They have backgrounds, but
why he came back and
like decided I'm going to start fighting. Because he hasn't done that in years. And you find out later why, but he goes to the gym for the first time in a long time, and he's like hitting punching bags, and there's this guy in there named Mad Dog Grimes, who's like one of the biggest fighters in the world, and he's got like a mohawk, and he's beating the shit out of these guys. He's sparring with them, and they're trying to find another guy for him to fight because he keeps fucking everyone up. And so his manager's like, call this guy, and they can't find anyone. And Tommy goes up to him, and he's like, I'll fight him. And
I'll fight him.
yeah, and he's like, they blow him off. They're like, why don't you get out of here, fucking idiot? And then he's like, I'm just saying, if I'll keep your boy warm for you if you want. And so they agree to it, and they're like, has this guy signed a waiver? Because they think he's about to get the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.
And he goes in there and destroys this dude.
Dude, he goes in there, he flexes his fucking traps.
Biggest traps known to man. I mean, that's.
I don't know where he gets off with these fucking traps.
I think he did steroids for this movie just in his traps. He just injected steroids
direct injection.
straight into his traps, and he constantly flexed them the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because they are astronomical in this movie. But yeah, he beats the shit out of this guy, knocks him out, and someone was recording it, so the video starts going viral, and then it cuts to this military camp, and these guys in the military recognize him from the video, from the viral video. So then I think that's the first time we find out that Tommy was in the military, because they compare the gym video to the video, like the helmet night vision footage of of him like saving them. And so that's when we find out that Tommy's in the military. The video goes viral, and when Tommy enters the competition, that's like the reputation he's getting. It's like, oh, this is Tommy Conlon, and
He's a war hero.
yeah, he's a war hero, and he's the guy that fucked up Mad Dog Grimes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Joel Edgerton, Brendan, he goes back to his best friend, like one of his best friends from back in the day, who's Frank Grillo, who I always like when Frank Grillo shows up in movies. He's just a cool guy to me.
He is really cool. I wish he'd get more of a bigger role. I think the only movie I've seen with him as the main guy was The Purge: Anarchy.
Yeah, and he's got like a small role as Crossbones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you know,
Very
he got cast in Creature Commandos.
Ooh.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Which apparently is gonna, like, those characters are gonna come into live action eventually too. So that could be cool.
I mean, he's still jacked, and he's like, I think in his 50s.
Probably close, maybe late 40s.
Yeah, but he looks fucking great.
But yeah, he goes back to his friend Frank Grillo, who runs a gym, and he's like, I need you to train me. Like, I wanna start fighting again. I need to make some money. And he's like, I can't promise you much, but you can come in with the guys I train, and you can, see what kind of work you can get in. And then Frank Grillo's big guy, who was gonna be his entrant into the competition, breaks his leg. And so now Brennan goes up to him, and he's like, hey dude, like, fucking put me in the Sparta competition.
Yeah.
We're boys, don't forget that.
I'm gonna lose my house.
Yeah. And so he like begs him, and he finally gets in the competition. So now we have Tommy and Brendan both in this competition together, fighting for this money. Yeah. And when there's one scene when Tommy's at the gym, and he calls this woman, and for the first time in the whole movie, Tommy's face lights up, and it's a really great like moment, because he seems like, the first time you watch the movie, he just seems like an angry person, like just a mean, angry, quiet person.
Yeah.
And he calls this woman, and his face instantly lights up, and he starts talking to her, and he's like, how's the kid? Like, is he good? How's the girl? Like, are y'all doing good? And he's just like checking in, and he's like, I haven't forgotten what I promised you. And then on the other end, you see the woman, and it's like this Hispanic woman, and you see her walk past this picture, and the picture is of Tommy and this guy, Manny.
Yeah.
And so that's when we find out that Tommy's best friend was in the military named Manny, and he got killed. And so now Tommy feels like it's his responsibility to take care of Manny's family.
Yeah. And
so now we just learned that he's fighting. He wants to win the $5 million from the competition to give to her.
Yeah.
And that shows you, like, wow, like, he on top of the whole war hero thing, like he's just really is like a really good person.
Yeah.
Who's just been, he just has so much like trauma and anger inside from his past experiences, but like deep down, he's a really good person.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you find out that's why he's fighting, and then right before the big Sparta competition starts, they meet each other on this beach, and
Oh yeah, I love that.
it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and it's really heartbreaking, and like Tommy's blaming him for walking out. And so basically in this scene, you find out that their parents got divorced, and Tommy went with his mom and Brendan went with his dad. And since his dad was an alcoholic and like the problem, you would say, Tommy took that as like Brendan abandoning him.
Yeah.
Whether that's how you should look at it or that's how we look at it, like that's how Tommy sees it. That's why he hates Brendan so much, is because Brendan left him and he had to go with his mom on his own. And then his mom, after they left, got sick. And I think it was cancer. I don't remember exactly, but it was like a bad illness, and she died. And Tommy was alone to deal with that, and then went to the military because like he didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Or that's kind of what's implied, is that he was with his mom and then his mom died, so he was left alone, and his only choice was to join the military.
Yeah. And Brendan really only stayed with his dad because at the time he was dating this girl who's his wife now.
Yeah.
So like,
And he's like, you chose that girl over your brother.
yeah.
And
he's
he's
like, it's
like-
not just some girl. Like,
He's like, yeah, that's not some girl, that's my wife. And so this is when you start to understand why Tommy hates Brendan so much. It's not mutual. Brendan doesn't hate Tommy at all. He really loves Tommy. And when his dad told him Tommy was back in town, he was like, well, I mean, I'm here if he wants to talk to me. Like, he wasn't like, oh, fuck Tommy. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? He's back. Like, he really does want to have a relationship with Tommy, but Tommy's the one that hates him. And so, yeah, this scene is great. And he was like, I forgot exactly how it came up, but Brendan was like, dude, I'm your brother. And Tommy goes, you were in the Corps? And he was like, what? And he was like, no, I wasn't in the Corps. And he was like, oh, well, my brothers are in the Corps, so I don't know what you're talking about. And so he really like disassociated from his family and kind of resents them, and found his own family, is how he sees it,
yeah.
in the military. And God, it's just, I could talk about this movie for so long.
I mean, it really is masterfully done.
Yeah.
Their whole dynamic, like, when he was like, she's my wife, he was like, we got kids together. They're, your nieces. They pulled pictures out, and he was like, why am I looking at pictures of people I don't know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be a tough watch at times. It's really sad. And Tommy goes back to the hotel, and he's like, he's gambling in like the hotel casino, and his dad comes up to him, and God, that scene's just really sad. He's like, why don't you tell your war stories down at the VFW? And he just blows him off. And so his dad keeps telling him, like, I'm 3 years clean. Like, I want to have a relationship with you. And Tommy's like, I needed you when I was a kid, and I don't need you anymore. So this whole 3-year sober thing doesn't mean anything. It's too late. So then his dad goes up to the room and starts drinking again, and he puts on his headphones, and that's like his thing, it appears, is like he gets really drunk and then listens to these like audio books. And so he's listening to Moby Dick, and he's like screaming, and it's really sad. So he's what do they call it? Relapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's drunk again, and he's just going crazy in the hotel room. And this is where the movie, like, it surprised me again, and I was like, dude, they really don't spoon feed you anything with this, because the whole movie, Tommy's hated his dad, and he treats him like shit, and he says, I don't care that you're sober, it doesn't matter, like, you're just my trainer. But when he sees his dad drunk, like, he goes up and hugs him, and he starts taking care of him, and he takes his headphones off, and he lays him down on the bed, and then he goes and like sits behind him on the bed and like lays his dad's head in his lap and like rubs his head like to sleep.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say a word, or he might be like, it's okay, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it really makes you think, like, why is he doing this? Why did his dad getting drunk, like, make him feel this way? And I think he kind of felt bad that he treated his dad like this, and so he relapsed because his dad, he said it like, this whole sober thing doesn't matter. Like it's useless. It's not going to get you any closer to me. And maybe you have a different outlook, but I think I took it more as like he felt bad. Because like I said, Tommy's a good person.
Yeah.
And he just felt bad that because of what he said, his dad, like relapsed and got drunk again. And I don't know. That's one of those scenes that you can kind of think whatever you want about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think so too. I think he did feel bad. Obviously, the performances just going into this whole thing, the performances throughout is fantastic.
Probably the best group of performances of any sports film ever.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I think he felt bad about his dad relapsing. I think he felt like it was his fault. But he also, you kind of see that really the only thing that is helping him push forward is the potential to have a relationship with his son.
Mm-hmm.
And that
once he realizes that's not
like,
an option,
it's
he's like, well, it doesn't matter. This was the only reason I was getting sober.
Yeah,
was for my sons.
So I think Tommy kind of saw that too.
I think he kind of looked at himself in the mirror and was like, man, like he did this all for me, and I've treated him like shit.
Yeah, I think that was when it just like this seems real now.
Yeah. So they let the actions speak for themselves in the movie, and not spoon feed you everything. But, and right after the beach scene happens, right before the big competition starts. Right after the beach scene, pretty much, it jumps to the competition in the next scene, and I was like, dude, this is crazy because the big competition starting, the big martial arts competition, which is what you start a sports movie for, is starting. And I don't give a shit about them fighting anyone. Yeah. I just want these two brothers to make up and love each other again.
Yeah.
That's all you want at that point in the movie. And so the competition starts, and Tommy...
Oh, dude. Man, let's set the stage.
Okay.
So he fucking comes out. He's all black robe.
No walkout music.
No walkout music. It's dead
Not
silent.
even a robe. It's a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's just a black hoodie.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a hoodie. So he's out there. His dad like tries to like rub his back, like give him like rub his shoulders to get him amped. He's like, don't fucking touch me.
Yeah.
And he walks out. He does his Tom Hardy walk, which is this just fucking
hunched over.
Yeah, hunched over,
traps.
like speed walk towards into the cage.
Yeah.
And they're like, this guy, he knocked out Mad Dog, but right now he's just a YouTube sensation. And the fighter he's going up against has like a reputation. People know him. Mm-hmm. He fucking gets in the cage, and like 2 seconds.
One punch,
right? The guy goes in for a jab on Tommy, and he hits him with a left hook, lays him out, and then
instantly walks out.
The second that the guy falls down, Tommy takes his gloves off and walks out of the cage. And goes back to the locker room.
Yeah, goes back into the locker room, and they're like telling him to stop, and he just keeps he just leaves. He just goes back to the locker room, and the announcer's like, "We've never seen anything like this before. He's leaving."
They're like, he skipped the press conference. There's no walkout music.
There's no interviews.
They wouldn't let us take his picture.
Yeah,
and now he's leaving because in the middle of the fight.
In the scene, like when he's in the locker room, you can see that they have the TV on, and it's like the pregame, and you see the other guy like arms up, like fists, like how they normally do, like B versus
they do their like
Connor, and it'll have them two like facing each other with fists up. They just had the one guy, and it just said Tommy Weirden, and there was no picture.
Yeah, dude.
And then as he's walking out, they're like, "Yeah, he wouldn't even let us take his picture for the card." One punch knockout, and then it cuts between Tommy and Brendan's fight, so it goes Tommy Brendan, and Tommy is very like physically gifted, where he'll just knock you out in one punch. But Brendan is more of a wrestler. He's very good at like putting people in locks and getting people to submit.
Yeah, Brendan's a grappler, and you can see like Brendan taking more time and like struggling more with his fights.
He's much more of an underdog than Tommy, even though they're both, to the public, they're both underdogs because no one's ever heard of them. Tommy, really, no one's ever heard of, but Brendan used to be in the UFC, but he was like a bad UFC fighter. He was in it, but he was like the CM Punk. Like he was like,
I didn't think he was bad. I thought he was just like just an average.
No, he was like forgettable. And because they talked about it, the announcers talked about it, and he was like, I mean, Brendan used to be in the UFC, and he was like, I remember him being unmemorable in the UFC, and so he was in it, but like he wasn't a top guy. He was kind of bottom of the barrel. And so Brendan starts winning his fights. Like he's getting beat up. He's getting like blood and bruises, and he's getting beat to shit, but he's just barely inching it out every fight. He's putting people in these locks. And I'm trying to remember all the people he fought, but one of them, I think, was a real UFC fighter. I can't remember his name, but he has one of the highest powers, like punch powers in UFC 3. He's got a big head. I can't remember his name.
I'm trying to think of who would have been in that movie. When did that movie come out?
2011.
Oh.
I can't remember his name. It's a pretty standard name. It's like Johnson, something Johnson. I don't know.
Rampage Johnson?
Yeah, Rampage Jackson.
Rampage Jackson.
Yeah, that's it. I believe that's who he is in the movie. And
Rampage is a fucking animal.
yeah, so Brandon's like barely inching it out with each person, and then he fights Koba, who is the biggest. He's the Conor of this world. Like he's the biggest fighter in the world. He's massive. He's undefeated, and it's like a lock. It was like a lock that he was going to beat Brendan, and he just starts getting his ass beat. Like Brendan's getting fucked up.
He's low HP going into the fight.
Yeah, and he's like barely making it out of each round, and then he eventually gets like Koba in this arm lock, and God, I like almost cried at that moment because you see you see like Frank Grillo on the sideline training him, or not training him, but like being his coach.
Yeah.
And his wife shows up, even though she said she's not going to watch him fight anymore. She shows up and she's in the crowd, and you see all their faces react when he beats them, and like they set the stage, and they're like, this is, to put this in context, this is the biggest upset in UFC history.
Yeah.
Like, this is a no-name person beating the biggest fighter in the world. And so eventually Tommy fights Mad Dog Grimes again and beats, and they're talking him up before the fight, and they're like, yeah, Mad Dog said it was a fluke and he's gonna beat him in one punch, and he's just talking all this shit, and then Tommy just beats the fuck out of him again.
Yeah. Never says
starts
anything.
Wailing on dude. He spears him. He spears him like Randy Orton, and just starts. He's sitting on his chest, and he just starts wailing on him, and it's hilarious.
He's so like, anytime Tommy gets in the ring, it's so aggressive.
Dude, he is an animal.
Tears people apart.
Yeah, he is an animal in the ring. So he beats the shit out of Mad Dog Grimes.
I can't imagine taking one of those traps to the fucking face, dude.
So then I'd say from this point on, this is probably spoilers. So we're gonna talk about the end of the movie. So if you don't want to,
kind of been spoiled.
I mean, sure, I guess
we've been going over the plot of Warrior.
Yeah, but like, this is the ending we're about to talk about. So if you don't want to hear the ending, thanks for listening. So eventually, the last two fighters in the competition are Tommy and Brendan, and they're about to fight. And Brendan's wife is like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I'm gonna fight him." And so they go in, and
that's when it's not until then that everyone realizes they're brothers.
Yeah,
because they're going by different last names.
Tommy Weird and Brendan Conlon. So no one knew they were brothers, and then that's announced like right before the fight. And so basically they start fighting, and Tommy's kind of fucking him up and doing what Tommy does. and Brennan's inching it out, and then eventually Brennan really starts getting the edge on him and fucked him up really bad. And then he gets him in this arm lock.
Yeah, dude. He
And
puts him in an arm bar.
He breaks his shoulder, basically. He pops his shoulder out of place, and Tommy like screams.
Yeah.
And the second he does it right before the round's about to end. And the second he pops it, he like leans over and he's like, "Tommy, I'm sorry. Like, are you okay?" And it's just
Well, he was trying to get him to tap. He wouldn't tap.
yeah, he kept getting him to tap, and he was like, "Okay, he won't tap, so I'm gonna do this. Like, I have to do this." And then so Tommy doesn't like tap, and he doesn't quit. Like the round ends, so they're preparing for the next round, and Tommy's standing there waiting for the round to start, and Brennan's upset, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like
His shoulder's dislocated.
he has one arm up. Tommy has one arm up because his other arm he can't feel because it's numb, and he's upset because he's like, "Dude, I don't want to keep hitting you. Like, you should have tapped by now. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he's upset with him, and Tommy will not tap. He will not do it. And so he finally gets him in this like chokehold, and he's saying, "Tommy, tap," and he will not tap. And then eventually I start crying every time I see it. He says,
It's getting me now.
he says, "I love you, Tommy." And he says, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And the second he says that, Tommy taps.
Yeah.
And then he helps him out of the ring. He carries him like
They don't stick around for the win or anything.
no, they don't stick around for
hold
the
each
getting
other.
the belt and all that stuff.
They hold each other and walk out of the ring together.
Yeah, it's Tommy finally accepting Brennan's apology and, putting everything behind them and becoming brothers again. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful ending, and I fucking love it.
Yeah. It's his, and then like, not like a lot of these sports movies aren't really about the sport,
Exactly.
but this movie has genuinely good fighting.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
The MMA, like the actual combat, is really good.
Like all
It's-
the holds that you see Brennan do, the arm bars and how he grapples
Yeah.
is really good.
And Joel Edgerton has a background in that and in wrestling and in fighting, so
bet he
that's why
fucking
he
does.
looks so like a natural
I
doing
bet
it.
he fucking does, dude.
Yeah,
He's so cool.
Tom Hardy. It's funny because Tom Hardy didn't have a background in fighting at all, and he learned everything for the movie. And you can kind of tell with the choreography because Tom Hardy's basically just swinging.
Yeah.
He's just like throwing punches, and Brennan more so is like a wrestler and does all these complex moves and like counters and all this stuff. And yeah, and they film it in a way like, as much as I love the Creed movies and how they film their fight scenes, it's very like stylized in Hollywood, and the Warrior fight scenes are filmed like you're standing right next to the ring.
Yeah.
You can always see the chain link like in front of the camera. It's like you're a bystander right next to the ring, and you're like looking up, like into
feels-
the cage at them.
It
feels like you're
rough
there.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like guerrilla style. It's like you're right there, and it's not these highly stylized like slow-mo
Soaking
like
wet, the water
slow-mo with
flying
the
off
with
of
the
you.
sweat flying off your face when you get punched in slow-mo, and like it's very guerrilla style, and it feels like you're there. But the combat's also like really good. Like it looks very convincing, and it looks like they're all getting body slammed, and so yeah, the combat's actually like, it isn't the reason I love the movie, but it's also really fucking good. And I put in my Letterboxd review that like the best sports movies are never about sports. They're always about something else, and sports are a vehicle to tell the story. And I think that's what Warrior does better than any other sports movie.
Yeah.
Because they really, like, Creed is obviously about, I love Creed, and it's obviously about a lot more than boxing, but they really like embrace the boxing, and that's really what you get excited about when you watch Creed.
Yeah.
And I feel like Warrior is, you don't really care who wins Warrior. You don't care who wins the money. You want these two brothers to love each other again and have a relationship. And I think that's what makes it so great, is that it's just an incredible drama movie, and sports are just in it.
Yeah.
But the sports happen to be great and like really well filmed and choreographed. So, yeah, the music's also really good. I like the music. The song that they play when at the end, like when Tommy taps, is just awesome.
Yeah, dude.
I love that song. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add about
No,
Warrior?
dude,
I feel like I've been gushing about it for like 45 minutes now.
Yeah, I think we said everything that really needs to be said. I mean, if there was one sports movie that had to go over Rocky, you know, I would like for it to be Warrior.
Yeah. My
Warrior
like
is significantly like going through the list too. It's like Warrior and Rocky.
Yeah.
For me.
For me, like a lot of my
easy
favorite
deadlock.
movies. Yeah, a lot of my favorite movies, I can't actually defend and say, like, it's hard for me to say The Nice Guys is the best movie ever made. It's my favorite, but I normally separate like objective and favorite, and The Batman is hard to say like it's the best movie ever made. It's just something I really love. But Warrior is where it aligns, and it's like it's my favorite sports movie, and it's also like something I will defend to the death that it is the best sports movie.
Yeah.
And it's really not even close,
Yeah.
in my opinion. There's nothing that has been done with this amount of skill in the sports genre before. So
And it's crazy. I feel like no one I know has really seen it,
it's not very popular.
which is wild.
Yeah. It's gained, I feel like it's gained a little popularity in the recent years, but like when it came out, it didn't really make any money. No one talked about it. Didn't get nominated for any Oscars, and that's just crazy town to me.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies, probably. It's probably in my like top 20 movies.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely up there. Like the other sports movies I have wouldn't rank that high. If the list was just movies, they'd be fucking waiting.
Creed would be like movie 150
Yeah.
or 200. But Warrior's like in the top 20
Yeah.
solidly. So yeah. You got anything else?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Film Scoop.
Hopefully next week our watch list will be a little bit bigger. We'll have a little bit more to talk about.
Hopefully. We need to see Bottoms. New
Hell
comedy.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Got to see Bottoms. I got to watch Battle Royale this week. That was my rec for this
I want to watch that with you.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
That's gonna be
I'd like
awesome.
to attend your viewing.
And
I need to watch Shane Gillis's new stand-up too.
you have fun with that on your own. On your own time, pal.
I'm excited for that.
Next week, or not next week, next month is Halloween, and we're going to have some Halloween episodes coming.
That's
So,
when we're gonna start packing some ass.
yeah, I'm trying to coordinate our Halloween month. Like I want to do 4 Halloween episodes each week during October because I fucking love Halloween and I love horror movies.
Yeah.
And it's a great easy excuse to talk about horror movies. So we'll do that. We'll start planning those out, and I don't think there's any new release like this week that people really want to hear about.
I saw something about a new
The Nun 2.
The Nun 2?
Yeah.
That'll tie in perfectly with our
Yeah.
dog shit horror movies where we'll go over.
Hey, we haven't seen it yet. What if it's good?
You know, ever since the change from the Gran Turismo trailer to Gran Turismo, anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible, honestly.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, it looks like maybe Equalizer 3 we'll talk about. Maybe if we see it.
Yeah,
Maybe we need to do a dub.
maybe.
Dubby Feach.
Depends on how stinky one of them is.
I think we should do. Fuck. Bottoms. I'm watching. That's
Yeah, Bottoms is
that's
deadlock.
happening. That's locked in.
Sights are set.
Yeah. Do you want to see both Equalizer 3 and The Nun 2?
Logan wants to
Because-
watch The Nun too, so no matter what, I have to watch The Nun
Okay.
too.
It's a horror movie, and even the most dog shit horror movies, I get excited to watch.
Yeah,
They're just
and
fun.
She actually likes those movies. She likes Annabelle and stuff.
Yeah, she likes Annabelle. I don't know. We need to have an intervention about that. 'Cause Annabelle's dog.
The ring's coming off, dude.
Yeah. So I guess we just need to decide if we want to watch Equalizer 3.
Yeah.
Maybe what we do tomorrow. I do have a fantasy draft tomorrow, but I might say fuck that. Maybe tomorrow we see Bottoms, and then this weekend we do a dubby feature of The Nun 2 and Equalizer 3.
We'll see. I have to work Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yucky.
Yeah. So
Are you gonna feel like doing a dubby feature after work?
I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take to get what I have to do done.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do one Saturday, one Sunday.
Yeah. I have a certain time frame to do my work, so I don't know how long it's.
Could be an early day.
Could be an early day, or it could be a man fuck today.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you guys next week
Yep.
on the Film Scoop.
On the film fucking scoop.
Film Scoop.